Ukraine and the European Union have agreed on a loan to Kyiv of more than 18 billion euros as part of a project approved by the G7. This is the fifth EU financial program to support Kyiv since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Brussels has already allocated over 25 billion euros. This time the loan will be repaid using assets from the aggressor country.
Honored to sign Memorandum of Understanding with Ukraine on behalf of EU for 18.1 billion euros in macrofinancial assistance to help cover immediate needs. It is part of G7 initiative to support Ukraine using revenues from immobilized Russian assets. Valdis Dombrovskis, Vice President of the European Commission, on social media X.
Overall, Kyiv's allies have frozen more than $300 billion of Russian central bank's reserves since the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by the Russian army. In addition to the European Union member states, sanctions on the aggressor state's assets have been imposed by the governments of Canada, the United States, and the United Kingdom.
Agreements with the United Kingdom are being finalized. We expect $3 billion from them, which will be allocated to the security and defense sector. We also have $3.7 billion from Canada, still under negotiation, but we don't foresee any major issues. Additionally, we expect $3 billion from the Japanese government. The main donor is the United States, from which we expect $20 billion.
While Kyiv has managed to reach agreements on transferring the profits from frozen Russian assets, it has not yet succeeded in securing the transfer of the actual assets themselves.
One alternative is to mobilize the Russian central bank assets which Western countries froze in 2022. The majority, about 210 billion euros, opens new tab is in the EU. But many officials, especially in the German government and Central European Bank, have been reluctant to simply confiscate those reserves. They are worried that this would contravene international law, from a Reuters publication.
An alternative scenario for using Russian frozen assets is the so-called reparation loan. In this case, the G7 countries could provide Ukraine with a loan of $300 billion. Kyiv, in turn, would present Moscow with claims for military reparations. If the Kremlin refuses to pay, the G7 countries would inherit the financial claims against Russia.
It is our duty as allies and friends of Ukraine to do everything we can to allow it to enter peace talks from a position of strength when the time comes. This means continuing our efforts in the financial sphere, primarily by sending $50 billion from frozen Russian assets as soon as possible, so that Ukraine can make use of them.
In June 2024, the G7 countries agreed to use the revenues from frozen Russian assets to provide assistance to Ukraine. As part of the initiative, loans of up to $50 billion will be granted to Ukraine. The funds are set to begin arriving in December 2024. Reported by Anastasia Tarnavska, Larissa Petruc, UATV News.